Good morning, everybody, and welcome to day 11 of spiritual healthcare. It is good to see everybody. I am really excited about today's topics because there is so much to discuss coming up today, and we're going to be chatting about ESP. We're going to be talking about global consciousness. There's a whole bunch of things we're going to address, and then there's some questions in between there. So we're gonna we're gonna get right to it because, as I say, there's lots to chat about, lots to announce today also, which is exciting. We've got tons of announcements that are coming up. So once people kind of get here and we can start talking about it. As most of you guys know, I've been doing this lately to build up the community in terms of getting people talking about not only paranormal research but also about things we can do in this time space to move ourselves through these challenging times and moments. There's a brilliant quote out there that basically talks about, a happy life is not about the destination, it is about all the happy moments in between. And so we want to create more of those. We want to create more of that joy. So hey everybody, I notice people are kind of logging on now, which is great. As I say, tons of announcements today. So this is going to be really cool. And as I say, we're going to be talking about ESP. We're going to be talking about what our consciousness does, what it's capable of doing, and what tests and experiments have been out there to start to elaborate on some of this. Like, what proof or what evidence do we really have, right? One announcement that I really want to make today, which is kind of cool, is that the Calgary Comic Expo has decided to rebook their dates for the summer. It was supposed to be the end of April, so anybody that was wanting to come out and see Ritual live at the Calgary Expo, the dates have been moved to July 17th through the 19th. And of course, that's probably going to be temporary because we don't know what's going on right now in terms of what's going on with the virus and things like that. But for now, they have decided that they're going to move the dates for Calgary Expo to July. So check into that. The event is up on Entity Seeker's Facebook, the Entity Seeker Facebook page where you guys are right now, and whatever. But we'll just keep you posted on that as to what's going on, because needless to say, we don't want everybody coming there and getting sick and stuff like that. So just wanted to let you guys know about that. So question-wise, let's get into this right away, because there's been some really interesting talk that's been sort of twittering around on Twitter recently, and my best friend and I, Patricia, we've been noticing this also because we've been affected by it too, and you guys might have been as well. Ben Greenfield posted this morning, and some of you guys may know him from his biohacking and public appearances and stuff like that. And he posted something very interesting, and he said, "About the time this pandemic began, I began waking up at 4 a.m.-ish, like clockwork. Is this happening to anyone else? And if so, would love some insight on whether universal human energy might be affected here on a global scale. Perhaps a question for the quantum physicists out there." Well, I'm not a quantum physicist, but I do have a little bit of insight that might start to piece together what might be happening here. And we have to start taking a look at some of the things, first of all, that we've been talking about over the last little while about it during spiritual healthcare, and about that connectivity between us and non-physical, this idea of the hard problem that David Chalmers presented in parapsychology, which is consciousness fundamental, which means it exists outside of the mind, or is it emergent, which means it comes from the brain outwards, and unless your brain's working, there's no consciousness. So as science has kind of begun to unravel this and take a look at that scientific model, they're beginning to lean more and more towards this idea that no, it is indeed a fundamental element, that it exists outside of the brain, and the brain acts like a translator rather than the brain being something that's generating the consciousness itself. The example that I like to give is our own eyes, where our eyes don't actually do the seeing, right? Our eyes do the translating. They translate light and photons and things like that, and then they send a message to the brain, and the brain translates that imagery. And that's why people see different things and perceive different things and all of that kind of thing. So we have to, if we start to look at it like that, and then we take a look at something called the Global Consciousness Project. Okay, so this was actually started by Princeton, and they have an anomalies lab there that studies parapsychology, that studies psi experiences, and the lab is known as PAIR, P-E-A-R. And so the PAIR lab, funded by the Institute of Noetic Sciences, decided that they were going to put together this thing called the Global Consciousness Project. And what it is the idea of using random number generators to look at the ebb and flow of people's focus on a global scale. So for example, during the attacks of 9/11, they noticed a massive deviation in these numbers, and it was fascinating to them, and they've watched it over multiple different things. There was an incident in Africa that sort of started the project, some tragedies that happened there, and it's just exploded from there. Dr. Dean Radin actually took it to Burning Man recently over the last number of years, to see what these random number generators, or RNG, would come up with, and the results are absolutely fascinating. And so the idea is that, can people's focus and emotion make these deviations on a global level to consciousness, and what does that mean? So when we start to break this down, we start to see it on smaller levels, just within paranormal activity and cases and psi cases in general. So for example, twins, right? We see people being almost telepathically connected, and being able to predict different things that are happening with their twin. And we hear about it all the time, where we think, a twin's gotten hurt, or, passes away or something like that, and all of a sudden, the twin who might be on the other side of the world just knows, like they just know something happened. And there's been plenty of studies that have gone into that, but we also see it with people who are not related. We see it with, it's a lot rarer, but we do see it. And people having predictions and things like that. And Great Shadows just added some information here that's fantastic. And it's one of those things where we see it in bits and pieces within local cases as well. Women often seem to be a little bit more prone to this. I had a case right here in Edmonton that was in this great big loft building, and there was a group of women who were friends, very close friends. They hung out, they did everything together. And what was interesting was that they started experiencing the same paranormal activity. So they were seeing an apparition, they were seeing all sorts of just bizarre stuff going on, and their husbands didn't see it. There was a lot of people in the building that didn't see it, but this group of women were all experiencing the same types of phenomenon. And what was fascinating was that when we had them sort of break up their routine, so going for walks, doing different things, just breaking up their system a little bit, the paranormal activity started to disappear. So it was a very fascinating case study, but I think it lends to what we're talking about here. So what they have noticed was that when people's brains sink into alpha waves, okay, this is when people seem to sync up emotionally, and sometimes even physically. And it's a really fascinating phenomenon. The first sign during this pandemic that the Global Consciousness Project saw was when the stock market started to fluctuate. When the stocks started to run into trouble, all of a sudden the random number generator started to go a little wonky. So does it have something to do with our brain being in alpha waves? Does it have something to do with us syncing up on this global level with this sort of fundamental energy or consciousness that we're translating? And so far the evidence is kind of pointing to, well, yeah, it's a very likely possibility. So why 4 a.m.? And that's a whole nother question. I don't think we have the data yet to start backing that up. Why is it a specific time? I was mentioning my best friend and I, we've been experiencing this as well, where, we've been waking up at these really weird hours all of a sudden, wide awake, can't get back to sleep. And then when we do, next night it's the same thing again. So it's a very interesting pattern, but that is my take on this, because I think there is a connection. I think it does have to do with like a global consciousness effect that's going on, because everybody is emotionally tied in, right, to what's happening. And I think it is something to heavily look at. I posted the results from the Global Consciousness Project about the stock market on the Entity Seeker page here, so afterwards you guys can go and take a look at it and read the official paper that came out. But it's very, very fascinating, and it's worth reading. So it actually lends into another question that I got on Twitter, and I thought this was really great, and it came from nobody really, and they had asked, what I'd like to know is if entities can communicate telepathically. I don't know how else to explain it. So this, again, ties right in with what we're talking about, and from people's encounters with a lot of paranormal research, I'm sure a lot of you guys have had dreams where you felt like, hey, wait a minute, that didn't feel like a dream. That felt like some sort of an interaction. And you guys aren't alone with this. This happens frequently, and oftentimes people seem to be able to plug into not only communication with their loved ones, or receive visitations at different points in time in their sleep, but it's these different sleep states and altered states that often generate or not generate, but I would say pick a different word, maybe stimulate that connection with non-physical. So when we take a look into sort of the altered state world, we can look at things like near-death experiences or out-of-body experiences. There's something called the hypnagogic period, where when we're just falling asleep, when we're just getting into that sleep state, people have the ability to start to see things. And this used to be labeled as strictly hallucination, okay? Like strictly hallucination. The hypnagogic state was going into sleep, the hypnopompic state was popping out of sleep. And this, for the longest time, if you had an experience during this time period, it was hands down a hallucination. And that information is now changing. So a lot is coming out brand new with this research. So can these things communicate telepathically through these different altered states? And it's starting to look like, yeah, there is something about that state of mind and that state of being that is actually connecting to maybe something that our conscious state and our awake brain isn't quite lining up with or quite understanding. So it's really interesting to see where this research is going. If you guys want more information on that, there's a researcher by the name of Christine Simmons Moore, and she is doing some incredible work right now in this very area, and they're looking at things even like delusions, or the sort of the blanket term of hallucinations and stuff like that. So it's really, really intriguing. I highly recommend you guys check it out because it's pretty cool. Really interesting stuff. So we had another question come in as well, and I want to grab it because I thought this was really cool, and it came from Ghost or Weird. Love you guys there. So great. What if some hauntings go both ways and we are ghosts to them? So I love this. I love this concept because when we start to look at the idea that we've got sort of these multiple realities going on, right? And we've got all of these things that are happening all at once, and there is no linear time, and we can go right down the rabbit hole with sort of the quantum physics arena. What if we indeed are ghosts to them? That has been something that has been proposed. The idea that when we see an apparition, we're not seeing the apparition of somebody who has passed away. We're actually seeing a glimpse into some other parallel reality. And it's that person that is still living within this other parallel reality, and they just didn't pass away, in that version of things. So it's something that has been talked about, and we've got such a small bead on what this world actually looks like and is. It's really hard to say exactly if which theory is the most accurate, or if it's a combination of both. We kind of see these interesting little time slips into different eras and things like that. Sometimes we see this as forms of residual energy, where say for example in Leap Castle in Ireland, in County Offaly, there's been accounts of people seeing entire scenes just erupt before their eyes, and I've always thought it was really phenomenal. So is it residual energy, or are we getting a glimpse into sort of this other reality and they're seeing us as that ghost or spirit? It's a huge question. It's a huge question, but I love it. I hope that kind of lends a little bit of insight to it, as I don't think anybody can put their finger on an answer for that one, but there are those theories that are floating around. So I had to cover that. I thought that was great and brilliant. Thank you guys so much for all the questions you have that keep coming in. I love them. They are so much fun to talk about. All of your questions have been incredible. I just love it. I have another announcement for you guys as well. We've been, how we've been doing a lot of processes lately. We've been doing some journaling work. We've been talking about all of that kind of thing, and writing down rampages of appreciation and stuff like that. I want to give you guys something to do those in. So yesterday on Redbubble, we came out with gratitude journals, and I think they're about $15 Canadian, and they've got quotes from my great-great-grandfather's books, The 20th Plane, on them as well. So it's a sort of constant reminder, that we are connected and that we are okay. So if you guys want one of my gratitude journals from there, then you've got the ability to go and check that out, because they're really cool. So that's available now, and it will be available on entityseeker.ca too. So you can check that out soon. But yeah, it's such a great way to get your day started. And I mean, even if you don't have a journal or anything like that, just have a book, have a notebook, have something where you can just start to document the things that you're thankful for. It really does make a fantastic either start to the day and end to the day, as we're kind of going through this, because it's easy to get wrapped up in things like, applying for government benefits and, feeling chaotic and not being able to, go out and see people and whatnot. So have those times set aside for yourself where you can just start to look for things that you're really thankful for, because honestly, it's a game changer. And when we talk about things like brainwaves and alpha waves and being connected to that part of non-physical, sitting in appreciation, I think is probably one of the best ways to do that. It really is. Being able to sort of sit back and find that sense of connection, and be able to then write that all down is absolutely, it's a very therapeutic and positive process, and it starts to rewire your brain. So that leads me to the next thing. I wanted to let you guys know about this awesome free course. Okay, so there's a free course that is now, well, I think it's now available, from Yale University. So you guys can say you went to Yale. And it is a course that they're offering in happiness. How cool is that? So you guys can sign up to this. You can take the entire course. It's totally free. And I absolutely love this because I think it's the perfect time for them to be offering something like this. I've posted the link again to the Entity Seeker Facebook page, so you guys can go and check that out. And you guys can literally be studying joy right now. Like, how awesome is that? For free, from Yale, really. So it's just, yeah, just a super great idea. And as it gives us something to do on these days. Like, I don't know what your weather's doing there, but we are snowing. The sun has just come out, and I think our weather is going out like a lion for the end of spring, but it's also the prairies. So that being said, I want to get to our reading for the day, and I'm going to bring back our Birth Through Death book, because it's, you know, there's just so many gems in here, and it's so powerful, that I really wanted to bring you guys something from this. So for those who missed it yesterday, Birth Through Death is my great-great-grandfather's book. It was the translation of channeling sessions that he did with a fellow by the name of Louis Benjamin. And when he began to write this stuff down, write this stuff out that Louis Benjamin said he was channeling, my great-great-grandfather realized that he had something that he had to share with the world. So he was the founder of the first paranormal association in Canada because of this. And nearly gave up his career for it. He was a very noted physician in Ontario, and became a very prominent person in parapsychology as well. So if you guys get a chance to research Albert Durant Watson, do that. He's amazing. So I'm going to read you guys a little bit from what he translated from Louis Benjamin. You give to the army of your life those commands which will cause you to have a divine attitude towards life. On the earth plane, beings seem to have forgotten this lesson. They drift, they do not emerge. They are blown by the winds. They do not stand upon a strong foundation. Worry will never cause disturbance to the nervous system if you observe the ordinary laws of hygiene, duty, and of clear thinking. Dispel fear from your life. Have something else move in and take its place. There's an infinite variety of things which will dispel fear and worry by moving into your life. Read every... If these things are not possible, remember that the human soul is a theater. I heard William Shakespeare say, most lives are an empty theater. All actors of joy have fled. Should your life be a deserted theater? It should not be. But if it is, then listen to your own inspirations. To some extent, every man and woman can commune with those in the world from which I speak. Let your prayer cease to be that miserable thing which requests something always for yourself. Let your prayer be a deep, sweet meditation in which you tune the things of your life with that which woos and loves you with its beauty. It is, I think, such a powerful influence with when we take readings like that, and no matter where you believe it's from. I mean, I definitely believe my great-great-grandfather was onto something when he was channeling with Louis Benjamin. I think that this is, I believe that it was the real deal. But, you know, it doesn't really matter when you get pieces of gems and advice like this. I think it's just so important to focus on the information that's coming in and whether or not it's in tune with who you are. It is something that is just so important, and if it fits in your ear right, then run with it. Just go with it. I want to end this afternoon on our usual health affirmations because they're so important. So everybody take a deep breath. It is natural for my body to be well. Even if I don't know what to do in order to get better, my body does. I have trillions of cells with individual consciousness, and they know how to achieve their individual balance. When this condition began, I didn't know what I know now. I don't need to understand the cause of this illness. I only have to gently, eventually release this illness. It doesn't matter how it got started, because it's reversing its course right now. There's no hurry about any of this. My body knows what to do. Well-being is natural to me. My inner being is intricately aware of my physical body. My cells are asking for what they need in order to thrive, and Source is answering those requests. I'm in very good hands. My only work is to relax and breathe. And I can do that easily. Everybody take a breath. Now, on this coming Saturday, I will be hanging out with you guys on Crowdcast. Okay, we're gonna be on Crowdcast on Saturday night, 6 p.m. Mountain Time. We'll be doing spiritual healthcare in the morning as usual, but on Saturday night we're gonna be having a live presentation on Crowdcast of ritual, exorcism, and film and television. And I'm going to be able to be one-on-one with you guys, presenting what I usually do at the expo. So if you can't make it to Calgary Expo, or Calgary Expo gets canceled again, which it might, if you can't make it, this is the opportunity to come and join one of my live shows, one of my live presentations. And I'm so excited to be able to bring this to you guys because I've never done it live online before. No, it's not happened. So I'm really excited to be able to do this with you guys on Crowdcast. They are amazing. They have been the really great partners in all of this. So I would love to see you guys come out. I would love to see you guys, sitting in our virtual theater, and we'll go through some of the most incredible evidence, I think, when it comes to paranormal phenomena in the world. So we're going to be digging through some of the real life cases of The Exorcist and The Conjuring and all of that kind of thing. So I am super excited. So please join me. Get your Crowdcast accounts. It's crowdcast.io, and tickets are only $20. It's half the price of the live show normally because I want everybody to be able to attend. And I would just love to see everybody there because you guys are amazing. Thank you so much for supporting all of this. You guys make my mornings fantastic, and I am super excited to be able to keep presenting this, and I will see you all tomorrow morning on our Wednesday edition of Spiritual Healthcare. If you guys have questions, please email them. Whatever it is, it doesn't matter. Email them, message me, Twitter, the works. I'm loving it. I love to be able to interact with you guys and talk about this cool stuff. I can brain with you guys, which is which is really good. So thank you all so much, and I will see you guys tomorrow morning. Bye guys, have a really good day.